Ruin had spent 17 years failing, and today he finally accepted it. The old Selkiri scientist placed his resignation letter on Administrator Palath's desk and stepped back. His four arms hung loose at his sides, the posture of defeat among his people. The office was cold, sterile, overlooking the massive storage bays where billions of credits worth of useless rock sat waiting for someone smarter than him. "You cannot quit," Palath said. The Dornavi administrator's face showed no emotion, but his voice carried concern. "The consortium will not allow it. The consortium can find another fool to chase an impossible dream." Ruin turned to the window. Below, the storage bays stretched for kilometers. Inside them lay Verathium, the hardest substance ever discovered in the known galaxy. Harder than neutron star matter, lighter than aluminum. Completely, absolutely, impossibly unworkable. 200 years ago, miners had pulled the first chunk of Verathium from an asteroid near a dead star. Scientists had celebrated. They imagined ships that could survive anything, buildings that would last forever, medical implants that would never fail. The future seemed bright. Then they tried to shape it. Cutting lasers bounced off. Plasma torches did nothing. Molecular disassemblers couldn't find purchase. Quantum manipulation, gravity crushing, antimatter bombardment, everything the galaxy's greatest minds could imagine had been tried. Nothing worked. The Earth sat there, mocking them, perfect and useless. Rin had joined the project as a young scientist full of hope. Now his scales had faded to gray, and hope had become a word he no longer understood. "I have tried everything," he said quietly. "Every approach, every theory. The metal cannot be worked. It is simply impossible." Pallas stood and walked to stand beside him. "There is one option we have not tried. There is nothing left. We have not tried humans." Ruin made a sound of disgust. "Humans, those primitives who joined the galactic community barely a century ago, what could they possibly offer? They have no advanced metallurgy. Their technology is generations behind ours. And yet," Palath said slowly, "they have a reputation for solving problems that others cannot. The consortium has approved a contract. A human salvage crew will arrive tomorrow." "Salvage crew?" Run laughed bitterly. "You are sending scrap collectors to solve what the greatest scientists in the galaxy could not? This is an insult. This is desperation." Palath returned to his desk. "Your resignation is denied, Run. You will work with the humans. You will document their methods. And perhaps, after 200 years, someone will finally find a way." Rin wanted to argue. He wanted to walk out and never return. But something kept him standing at that window, watching the storage bays, thinking about all his wasted years. Maybe watching the humans fail would bring him some comfort. At least he would not be alone in his failure. The next day, a small ship appeared on the station's sensors. It was old, battered, held together with patches and prayers. The name painted on its hull read Patience. Ruin stood in the docking bay as the ship landed. He expected a large crew with impressive equipment. Instead, only 5 humans walked down the ramp. They were small compared to most galactic species. Soft skin, fragile bodies, no natural weapons or armor. The leader was a dark-skinned man with gray in his short hair and calluses thick on his hands. He carried a simple bag over one shoulder. "I am Chief Metallurgist Run," Run announced. "I have been assigned to oversee your work." The human smiled and extended his hand. Run knew this was a greeting custom and reluctantly touched it with one of his own hands. "Danny Okonkwo," the human said. "This is my crew. Priya, Beto, Yuki, and Old Sam." Run looked at them. A young woman with dark eyes. A thick-bodied man with scarred forearms. A small woman who moved like a pilot. And an elderly man who walked slowly, leaning on a cane, carrying nothing but a small leather bag. "Where is your equipment?" Run asked. "Your advanced tools?" Danny patted his bag. "Right here. That cannot be sufficient. We have quantum forges, molecular reassemblers, the most advanced technology in the galaxy. And none of it worked, right?" Danny's smile remained friendly. "That is why you called us." Ruin felt his contempt rising. "You believe hand tools will succeed where quantum manipulation failed." "I believe," Danny said, "that we should see the problem before we decide on the solution. can you show us your failures? My failures? Your experiments. Everything that did not work. We want to start there. It was an odd request. Every other scientist who had visited wanted to see the Earth first, to touch it, to imagine their own triumph. These humans wanted to study defeat. Ruin led them into the station, his 4 arms crossed in skepticism. Behind him, old Sam walked slowly, humming a quiet tune to himself. The old human's eyes were sharp despite his age, looking at everything, missing nothing. To the back of the group, Priya whispered to Danny. The Selkari thinks we are fools. Good, Danny whispered back. Let him. We work better when no one is watching too closely. They disappeared into the station's corridors, 5 small humans against an impossible problem, carrying nothing but worn tools and 200 years of other people's failures. Ruin did not know it yet, but everything was about to change. 3 days passed, and the humans had not touched the Varathium once. Ruin watched them from his observation post, growing more frustrated by the hour. Danny Okonkwo sat in the archive room, surrounded by data pads, reading through 2 centuries of failed experiments. The others wandered the station, asking questions that made no sense. What temperature is or when you pull it from space? Priya asked the mining chief. What is the background radiation in the storage bays? Beto inquired. Does the metal make any sound when you strike it? Old Sam wanted to know. The station staff answered with confusion. These are not the questions of serious scientists. These were the questions of children who did not understand the problem on the 4th day. Ruin confronted Danny in the archive room. You are wasting time, the Selkari said. The consortium is paying significant credits for your services. When will you actually attempt to work the metal? Danny looked up from his reading. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had not slept much. We are working. You are reading old failures. Yes. Danny, he set down the datapad. And I'm learning something interesting. Do you know what every single experiment had in common? Ruin crossed to his arms. They all failed. They all fought. Danny stood and walked to a display showing a molecular diagram of Varathium. Every scientist, every engineer, every genius who tried to work this metal approached it as an enemy. Cut it, burn it, crush it, blast it, force it to submit. He tapped the display, and every time, the metal won. Because it is too hard. Is it? Danny tilted his head. Or does it just redirect everything thrown at it? Ruin paused. He had never considered the distinction. What is the difference? If something is simply hard, eventually enough force will break it. But nothing has broken Varathium. Not antimatter. Not collapsed star matter. Not anything. That is not hardness. That is something else. Before Ruin could respond, Priya burst into the room. Her eyes were bright with excitement. I found it, she said. Danny, you need to see this. She led them to a small laboratory where she had set up equipment borrowed from around the station. On a table sat a chunk of raw Varathium, no bigger than a human fist. Around it, she had arranged a series of simple speakers. Watch, Priya said. She activated the speakers. A low hum filled the room, then shifted through different frequencies. Ruin was about to ask what the point was when he saw it. The Varathium moved. Not much. A tiny vibration, barely visible. But after 200 years of the metal doing absolutely nothing, even that small movement felt like a miracle. It responds to sound, Ruin whispered. Specific harmonics, Priya explained. Very specific. If I shift the frequency even slightly. She adjusted a dial, and the vibration stopped. Nothing. But at exactly this frequency. The vibration returned. Danny leaned close to the ore, studying it. It is not random vibration. It is resonating. The metal wants to move at this frequency. Wants. Ruin found the word strange. Everything in the universe has a natural frequency, Danny said. Bridges, buildings, even planets. Hit that frequency and you create resonance. This metal has been resisting everything because nobody ever tried to work with its nature instead of against it. That evening, Ruin found old Sam alone in one of the storage bays. The elderly human sat on a crate, holding a small piece of Varathium in one hand and a simple hammer in the other. He was tapping the metal gently tilting his head, listening. "What are you doing?" Run asked. "Learning its song," Old Sam said without looking up. "Its song. Every material sings, if you know how to listen." The old man struck the oar again, a different angle this time. A faint tone rang out, beautiful and strange. "I have worked metal for 60 years. Iron sings deep and strong. Copper sings bright and quick. This one," he smiled, "this one sings like nothing I have ever heard. But it is singing." He tapped again, adjusting his rhythm, finding something in the sound that Ruin could not detect. "Your people try to break it," Old Sam said. "They should have tried to dance with it." Ruin stood in silence, watching the old human tap and listen, tap and listen. For the first time in 17 years, he felt something he had forgotten existed. Hope. Old Sam grinned suddenly, his weathered face lighting up. "There it is," he said softly. "I found a rhythm." He looked up at Ruin, and his eyes held a certainty that the Selkari had never seen in any of the great scientists who had come before. "Tomorrow," Old Sam said, "we make history." The device looked like garbage. Ruin stared at the contraption the humans had built overnight. Wires ran everywhere. Speakers salvaged from broken equipment surrounded a central platform. Control panels from 3 different systems had been forced to work together with tape and prayers. It was ugly, crude, and completely unlike anything the station's advanced laboratories could produce. "This is your solution?" Ren asked. "This thing." Danny wiped grease from his hands. "She is not pretty, but she will work." "You cannot know that. I know materials." Danny placed a chunk of verathium on the central platform. "This metal is not fighting us. It never was. It has been waiting for someone to speak its language." The rest of the crew took their positions. Priya sat at the frequency controls. Beto monitored the power systems. Yuki watched the sensors. Old Sam stood beside the platform, his simple hammer ready in his hand that a crowd had gathered. Word had spread through the station that the humans were going to attempt something. Scientists, miners, administrators all watched with doubt in their eyes. 200 years of failure had taught them to expect nothing. "Priya," Danny said, "begin." The speakers hummed to life. The sound was low at first, then rose through frequencies, searching. Ruin felt the vibration in his bones, an uncomfortable sensation that made his scales itch. "Approaching resonance," Priya announced. 90%. 95. The verathium on the platform began to glow faintly. Not with heat, but with something else, some internal energy that had been locked inside for millions of years. "Full resonance achieved," Priya said. Her voice trembled with excitement. "The window is open. For 0.7 seconds until stability returns." Old Sam raised his hammer. "Wait," Ruin said. "You cannot simply strike it with a primitive tool. The vibrations must be calculated. The angle must be." Old Sam brought the hammer down. The sound that followed was unlike anything Ruin had ever heard. A pure tone rang through the room, beautiful and terrible, like a voice that had been silent since the birth of the universe finally speaking, and the verathium bent. Old Sam struck again. And again. Each blow fell in perfect rhythm with a resonance frequency, guided by 60 years of instinct, by hands that knew metal the way a musician knows their instrument. 3.2 seconds. The metal curved under his hammer, taking shape, becoming something new. 2.1 seconds. Old Sam gave one final strike, then stepped back. The resonance faded. The glow disappeared, and on the platform sat something impossible, a curved plate of verathium, shaped by human hands. Silence filled the room. Then chaos. Scientists rushed forward, scanning the plate with every device they had. The readings confirmed what their eyes saw. The molecular structure was unchanged. It was still verathium, still the hardest substance known to exist. But now it had a shape. Now it could be used. Ruin picked up the plate with shaking hands. It weighed almost nothing. When he ran his fingers over the surface, he felt the marks of Old Sam's hammer, the evidence of impossible work made real. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" Danny stood beside him. "The metal does not resist being shaped. It redirects force." Every laser and plasma torch was fighting against that redirection, pushing harder against something that could not be overpowered. But if you move with the redirection instead of against it, if you find the right rhythm, it becomes workable. Run finished. 4.7 seconds. Long enough for a human with good timing and a steady hand. But why human hands? A Selkirk scientist pushed forward. We can program machines to strike with perfect timing. We can calculate the exact rhythm needed. Old Sam laughed. It was a warm sound, not mocking but understanding. Try it, he said. Build your machine. Program your rhythm. See what happens. Within hours, the station's engineers had constructed an automated striking system. They calculated the exact timing down to the nanosecond. They built a hammer arm that could swing with perfect precision. The machine failed. The Vorathium did not respond to perfect timing. It responded to something else, something in the micro-adjustments that human hands made without thinking, the tiny variations that turn mechanical rhythm into living music. Run watched attempt after attempt fail. Then he watched Old Sam pick up his hammer and shape another piece of Vorathium in seconds. I do not understand, Run said. Why can you do what our machines cannot? Old Sam smiled and held up his weathered hands. Because these are not just tools, he said. They are part of me. They feel what my brain does not see. They adjust before I know adjustment is needed. He tapped his chest. The metal responds to life, friend. Real, messy, imperfect life. Your machines are too perfect. They have no soul. Run looked at the shaped Vorathium in his hands, then at the old human who had done the impossible with nothing but a hammer and 60 years of wisdom. For the first time, he began to understand why humans had survived so long on their deadly world. They did not fight the universe. They learned to dance with it. 90 days after the first breakthrough, the station had transformed into something new, where silence and failure once lived. Now there was sound. The ring of hammers on metal echoed through corridors that had known only quiet disappointment for 2 centuries. 12 more human workers had arrived from across the galaxy, recruited by Danny to meet the growing demand. But progress remained slow. Each piece of Vorathium had its own personality. Some responded quickly. Others needed hours of testing to find their resonance. And the work was brutal on human bodies. Run noticed it first in Old Sam. The elderly human moved slower each day. His hands, once steady as stone, now trembled when he rested. The constant vibration of the work was grinding him down from the inside. You need to stop, Run told him one evening. Your body cannot sustain this. Old Sam laughed, though the sound was weaker than before. My body has been failing for years. At least now it fails doing something that matters. He was shaping a medical implant, a tiny piece that would replace a damaged bone in a child's spine. The work required incredible precision, and Old Sam performed it without hesitation, his hammer strikes delicate as whispers. The doctor said this implant would last forever, Old Sam said. That child will grow up and grow old and die, and this piece of her will still be perfect. He smiled. That is worth a few aches. Run had no answer to that. He was still learning how to understand humans. Representatives from 6 different species had come to the station, hoping to learn the technique. The Selkirk sent their best metallurgists. The Dornavi sent precision engineers. The Kreth sent warriors with perfect muscle control. All of them failed. Their timing was exact. Their strikes were precise. And the Vorathium ignored them completely. I do not understand, a Kreth warrior growled after his 100th failed attempt. My rhythm is identical to the humans. Why does the metal not respond? Priya, who had become the unofficial teacher of the technique, tried to explain. Your rhythm is identical, she said. But rhythm is not music. When a human strikes, we make tiny adjustments without thinking. A fraction harder here, a slight angle change there. We feel the feedback through our hands and respond to it instantly. Your strikes are perfect copies of each other. The metal needs imperfection. It needs conversation. The Kreth did not understand. None of them did. Danny watched these failures with growing unease. He had hoped others could learn that humans would not be the only ones who could work Vorathium. But as weeks passed, the truth became clear. Human hands were special. Not better, not more advanced, but different in a way that mattered. We evolved on a death world, Danny explained to Run one night. Earth tries to kill humans constantly. Earthquakes, storms, predators, disease. We survived because we learned to adapt without thinking. Our bodies adjust to changing conditions before our minds catch up. That instinct, that ability to feel and respond in the same moment, that is what the metal needs. Then humans are the only ones who will ever work Verathium, Rune said quietly. Yes. Do you understand what that means? Danny nodded slowly. We become the most valuable workers in the galaxy, and valuable things get owned. The warning came true faster than Danny expected. 2 days later, a consortium executive arrived on a ship worth more than the entire station. He wore expensive clothes and spoke with the smooth confidence of someone who had never been told no. His name was Director Voss, and he had an offer. The consortium wishes to establish exclusive contracts with human Verathium workers, Voss announced in a meeting with Danny and Administrator Paleth. We will provide housing, protection, and compensation beyond anything you could earn independently. And in exchange, Danny asked, humans who sign our contracts will work exclusively for the consortium. They will live on our stations. They will shape metal according to our priorities. Voss smiled like this was generous. Think of it as a partnership. It sounds like ownership. Voss's smile did not waver. It sounds like security. The galaxy is dangerous, Mr. Okonkwo. Humans are rare and fragile. The consortium can protect you. Others might not be so kind. Danny felt the threat beneath the polished words. That night, old Sam collapsed in his quarters. Priya found him on the floor, barely breathing. The doctors said it was exhaustion combined with the vibration damage to his nervous system. He would survive, but he could not work anymore. The hammer that had shaped the first piece of Verathium in galactic history would never strike again. Danny sat beside his bed, holding the old man's hand. Did I do enough? Old Sam whispered. You changed everything, Danny said. You proved it was possible. Then I can rest. Old Sam's eyes closed. Do not let them own you, Danny. We did not break our backs to become slaves. Promise me. I promise. Outside the medical bay, Director Voss waited with contracts ready to sign, and Danny began to plan something that would change everything. The crew gathered in Danny's small quarters. Far from any listening devices, Priya sat on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees. Beto leaned against the wall, massive arms crossed. Yuki perched on the desk, legs swinging nervously. Danny stood in the center, holding the contract Director Voss had offered. If we sign, Danny said, we become property in everything but name. We work where they tell us. We live where they tell us. And if we refuse, they will make our lives very difficult. Can they force us? Yuki asked. Not directly, but they can pressure Earth, threaten trade agreements, make it impossible for humans to work independently anywhere in consortium space. Danny set the contract down. They do not need chains when they control everything around us. Beto growled. Then we fight. With what? 5 humans against the largest corporation in the galaxy. Silence fell. They all knew Danny was right. The consortium was too powerful to challenge directly. There is another option, Priya said quietly. We give it away. Everyone looked at her. The technique, she explained. The frequencies, the resonance patterns, everything we have learned. We transmit it to every world that might have humans who could learn. We make the knowledge free. That destroys our advantage, Beto argued. We become worthless. No, Danny said slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. We become free. If the consortium cannot control the knowledge, they cannot control the workers. Humans everywhere can learn. They can work for whoever offers fair terms. Competition replaces monopoly. Voss will be furious, Yuki said with a small smile. Voss can be furious all he wants. He cannot unsend a transmission. Danny looked at his crew, these people who had trusted him across the stars. This means we give up wealth, he said honestly. We will never be rich from this. We will just be workers, same as anyone else. Priya shrugged. I did not come here to be rich. I came here to build things. Beto nodded. Same. Then we do it tonight, Danny decided, before Voss realizes what we are planning. The transmission went out 3 hours later. Every frequency, every resonance pattern, every technique the humans had developed, sent to 17 different worlds with significant human populations. By morning, the secret of working Verathium would belong to everyone. Director Voss discovered the transmission at breakfast. His fury was cold and terrible. He summoned Danny to his ship, where he waited in a room designed to intimidate, all sharp angles and dark metal. "You have made a serious mistake," Voss said. His voice was calm, but his eyes promised violence. "The consortium does not forgive betrayal." "There was nothing to betray," Danny replied. "We never signed your contract. You have destroyed the value of your discovery. I have spread it. There is a difference." Voss stepped closer. "We can strand you here. Blacklist every human worker in the galaxy. Make it impossible for any of you to find legitimate employment. You could try." Danny did not flinch. "But now there are humans on 17 worlds who know what we know. If you punish us, you punish them too. How long before one of those worlds offers humans protection in exchange for their work? How long before your monopoly means nothing?" For the first time, Voss's composure cracked. He had expected desperation. He had expected begging. He had not expected a human who understood politics. "You have no leverage," Voss insisted. "I have no leverage," Danny agreed. "I gave it away. That is why you cannot control me." The door opened behind them. Administrator Paleth entered, followed by Ruin and several officials Danny did not recognize. "Interesting," Paleth said mildly. "A representative of the Selkiri government heard about this situation and wished to make an offer." The officials stepped forward. Their leader was an elderly Selkiri woman with silver scales and sharp eyes. "The Selkiri Collective offers human workers protected status under our treaties," she announced. "You will work as independent contractors, free to negotiate your own terms. No corporation will own you while you operate in our space." Voss's face twisted with rage. "You cannot do this. The consortium has agreements. The consortium has agreements about trade goods," the woman interrupted. "Humans are not goods. They are workers. And workers choose who they serve." Danny looked at Run. The old scientist stood tall, pride clear in his posture. "You arranged this," Danny said. "I have worked here for 17 years, Run replied. "I have made a few friends. Some of them have influence." Director Voss stood alone, surrounded by forces he could not bribe or threaten. His carefully laid plans had crumbled in a single night. "This is not over," he promised. "No," Danny agreed. "It is just beginning. And for the first time, humans get to decide how the story goes." Voss left without another word. In the silence that followed, the Selkiri official approached Danny. "Why did you give away your only advantage?" she asked. "You could have been wealthy beyond measure." Danny thought of old Sam lying in the medical bay, hands that would never work again. "Because the metal taught us something," he said. "It does not fight back. It redirects. We just did the same thing. The consortium wanted to own us, so we made ourselves impossible to own." The official smiled slowly. "Humans are strange creatures," she said. "I think I like you." 1 year later, the sound of hammers filled a building on a world far from where it all began. Danny walked through the training facility on the Selkiri homeworld, watching young humans learn the art of working Verathium. The building was simple, functional, built with Selkiri efficiency and human practicality. Above the main entrance hung Old Sam's hammer, mounted in a glass case with a small plaque beneath it, the first tool to shape the hardest metal in the galaxy. Wielded by Samuel Bishop, 2157-2231, Old Sam had passed peacefully in his sleep 6 months ago. He never worked Verathium again after his collapse, but he spent his final months teaching, sharing everything he knew with anyone willing to learn. His funeral had been attended by humans and aliens from a dozen worlds. Danny paused to touch the glass case, a habit he had developed since the hammer was installed. He would be proud, Ruin said, appearing beside him. The old Selkiri looked different now. His scales had regained some color. He moved with energy instead of defeat. His paper on the technique, titled The Conversation Method, Human Intuitive Metallurgy, had been published in every major scientific journal in the galaxy. He would complain about the ceremony, Danny said with a small smile. He never liked being the center of attention. Perhaps, but he would love seeing what grew from his work. They walked together through the facility. In one room, Priya demonstrated resonance patterns to a group of apprentices. In another, Beto supervised strength training, helping young workers build the endurance they would need. Yuki managed the logistics, ensuring supplies and equipment reached human communities across known space. The Varathium Workers Guild had grown faster than anyone expected. With the knowledge freely available, humans everywhere could learn. They worked on cell-carry worlds, on independent stations, even on a few consortium planets where local governments had demanded fair treatment. The Monopoly Director Voss had wanted so badly had shattered before it could form. The consortium is still angry, Rune observed. The consortium is always angry. They try to buy what could only be earned. Danny shrugged. Now they have to negotiate like everyone else. And humans have become essential to the galactic economy. Quite a change from primitives who joined a century ago. Danny laughed. We are still primitive. We just found something we are good at. They stopped at a viewing window overlooking the main workshop. Below, dozens of humans shaped Varathium under resonance fields, their hammers rising and falling in patterns that seemed chaotic but were precisely tuned to each piece of ore. The metal sang under their hands, bending and flowing like water, becoming tools and implants and ship components that would outlast civilizations. I have a question I never asked, Rune said. When you first arrived, you seemed confident you could succeed. Why? How did you know? Danny considered the question. I did not know, he admitted, but I knew that everyone before us had tried to beat the metal into submission. No one had tried to understand it. And humans, he spread his hands. We are good at understanding things that want to kill us. Earth taught us that lesson early. Your world tried to kill you, so you learned to listen to danger instead of just fighting it. Something like that. The metal was not our enemy. It was just speaking a language no one had bothered to learn. A commotion below caught their attention. A young apprentice, a woman barely 20 years old, was struggling with her first piece of Varathium. They were sat unmoving on her platform despite repeated strikes. Her frustration was obvious even from a distance. Danny excused himself and took the stairs down to the workshop floor. The other workers stepped aside as he approached. It will not bend, the apprentice said, close to tears. I'm matching the frequency. I'm striking at the right time. But nothing happens. Danny picked up her hammer, feeling its weight. Old Sam's hammer had been heavier, worn smooth by decades of use. This one was new, still sharp at the edges. You are matching the frequency, Danny said. But you are not listening. Listening to what? To the metal. Stop thinking about timing and technique. Close your eyes. Feel the vibration through your hands, through your feet, through your chest. Let the ore tell you when it is ready. The apprentice looked doubtful, but she closed her eyes. Danny activated the resonance field. The low hum filled the air, and the Varathium began to glow faintly. Now, Danny said quietly, feel it, not with your mind, with your body. Seconds passed. The apprentice stood motionless, her hands resting lightly on the platform. Then, so gradually that Danny almost missed it, she adjusted her stance. Her breathing changed. Her grip on the hammer shifted. She struck. The Varathium bent. Her eyes flew open. She stared at the curved metal, at the evidence of her own impossible success. I did it, she whispered. You did. Danny handed back her hammer. Now do it again, and again, and again, until your hands know the song so well that you never have to think about it. He left her practicing, her strikes growing more confident with each attempt. Rune met him at the door. You are a good teacher, the cell-carry said. I learned from the best. Danny looked back at old Sam's hammer, hanging above the entrance like a promise. He used to say that the universe does not care about strength or intelligence. It cares about patience, about willingness to learn, about hands that know when to push and when to yield. Wise words. He was a wise man. They stepped outside into the afternoon sun. Across the city, Danny could see ships landing and leaving, carrying shaped Varathium to worlds that would never have imagined such a resource possible. Human hands had unlocked what all the technology in the galaxy could not. Not because humans were stronger or smarter, because they had learned long ago on a dangerous blue world, that the best way to survive was not to fight the universe. It was to listen to its song, find its rhythm, and dance.